Hi everyone, it's Romina. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to show you how to use nail pigments without gel polish. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and let's get started. I got these powders on 2021, but I hadn't had the chance to use them yet. They're UV light reactive, so super beautiful, and they come stacked into these towers with different colors. So the first container will have a lid, but from the second down they will have a seal that protects your powder, but it doesn't have a lid on its own. So the previous container becomes its lid. So that's the only downside, not super convenient. To keep things simple, I'm just gonna pick 3 colors and use them throughout all my examples on this video. That's going to be a Halloween edition. We're also going to need some cosmetic applicators, some stampers, one for the powder and one for the figures that we're going to do, preferably all stampers so you don't mess them up, a little brush, and also a fluffy brush to remove the excess. So first I wanted to test if I could do a whole nail coverage with this powder, so I'm just gonna start with a white base. I've applied 2 coats of this white polish and I'm just gonna put some of the powder on the stamper and I'm gonna put a sticky base coat. So the logic will be that the pigments will pop up more with a white base, and also they need a sticky surface to transfer. So our first try is gonna be with this one, and we're gonna press firmly down to the nail, and this is what we get. So I just went in with the applicator and tried to get as much powder onto the nail, just because on the stamper the layer might be too thin. So this is the final result. Unfortunately, it did not work. It seems patchy and the pigment didn't transfer in all of the surfaces. So that tells me that the surface wasn't sticky enough. So I decided to try with the Circ Colors Transfer Foil base. This is a glue that I got a few years ago with a foil set, and it will probably work better just because it will stay stickier longer. So I'm going to repeat the same process, a white base, and I'm going to put another color on my stamper and press down firmly. So this time I think the result was a lot better, and actually after a few touches with the same powder that was on the stamper, I got a great result. This is how it looks like with a top coat and also under black light. Great result. Now let's try it out with another color and see if we can stamp on top of the powder. So I'm gonna go with the green, and this time I thought that it was a little bit pale, so I used the applicator to apply more pigment, and I also apply a smudge-free top coat so the surface will be sticky for my stamping design. So I'm using stamping polish here and apply it directly into the sticky layer of the nail, and the result was beautiful, very crisp. If you don't use the top coat, the pigment will be removed by the stamper. Here's under black light, beautiful. Another way is to mix a clear nail polish or base coat with the pigment of our choice. In this case, I'll be using Wet n Wild Clear Nail Protector and this purple pigment. So it's very important that you mix it together very well, so the consistency is very soft and smooth to apply. And I'm gonna be applying it over white, which will make the color pop a little bit more. And I think 2 coats will be best. You have to play around with the amount of polish and the amount of pigment that you mix together. But I think the final result overall is pretty good. This is 2 coats. Now I'm gonna try to get the smoke effect to work with regular polishes, so I'm gonna apply 2 coats of SC Licorice and 1 coat of the LMP matte top coat. So basically I'm just gonna use some sponges and apply a little bit of white on top of the nails because I need these colors to pop, and that's not gonna happen over black. So I'm using here a stamping polish, and I'm gonna try to apply the pigment with this little brush. And remember that we always need to remove the loose pigment, and this is the result. So really not good, nothing really stick to the polish. So I'm gonna try a different version now. So same starting, but I'm gonna apply in the sponge a little bit of the sticky base coat. So hoping that this will help the pigment stick better, but honestly the result was a little bit better than the other one, but not really worth it. So now that I know that the glue really works, I'm just gonna try to replicate this over a white base. So that way the pigments will pop a little bit more. It's a little bit tricky though because we don't really see where we put the glue, so we have to just go and remember where we put it, or put a little bit more, and then we can just remove it. So this is the result. I think it turned out great, and I'm really happy with that. So I'm just gonna replicate the same thing with black base, which was the original idea of getting the smoke effect. So the stamping polish will go first to give us the white base that we need for the pigments to pop up. On top of that, I'm just gonna apply the glue. So this is a little bit tricky because it's very hard to put the glue in all the parts where the white is. So we're just gonna do an estimate where the location will be, and then we're gonna apply all the pigments, and this is how it looks like. I think it's really a success. Maybe not perfect as in gel, but really beautiful. This next section is very exciting to me. It's a stamping test, and if you have been here for a while, you know that I mainly do stamping on my channel, and I'm always curious of trying new products and see if they work. So here's the first try. I'm gonna stamp with stamping polish on white over a black base, and then I'm just gonna try to transfer the pigment from the stamper to the nail. Unfortunately, the first try didn't work just because my stamping polish is not sticky enough and it got dry very soon. So then I went with the second try. So here I put a little bit more polish, not half of the design as I normally would, and I tried to stamp with the pigment on the stamper already. So this is a different technique, and it actually worked a little bit better, but it doesn't really look good. So here are the comparisons, so you will see both where I failed. The next example, I'm just gonna try to stamp with the sticky base coat, because that's basically what we need, right? The pigment is not sticking to the nail because it dries too fast. This one actually works surprisingly. The only thing is the color really doesn't stand out on top of black. So that will be the only thing. After I apply a regular top coat, and it really smudged the powder, so you have to be very careful with that. Another thing that I noticed is that the amount of polish that I might have on the stamper, it's a very thin layer. So this time I tried to use the brush to get a little bit more product into those stamping designs, but unfortunately it didn't work either. I think for the negative spaces, I'm not having success. I think it's too much area, and the polish starts drying too soon. And here replicate what I did before over white, just to see if the color will stand a little bit more, and actually it did. I'm not sure if I consider this a success because it's not really opaque, but it still did what it was supposed to. Now let's see if putting the pigment directly into the plate will work better. I chose these 3 colors, and I will put a sticky base coat layer on my nail and then try to transfer it. Unfortunately, this didn't work. The pigment is very hard to work with on this scenario, so like that's a fail. Next, I'm gonna show you all the things that did work for me so you can replicate them. Here I'm just applying the 3 colors randomly, covering the whole stamping design with my stamping polish, and immediately putting the stamping over the nail. So you have to work really fast, and look at this. This is really amazing. I'm so surprised by this result, and it turned out beautiful, and this is how it looks like under black light. I feel like this design that only had thin lines was more successful than the other ones. So I'm just gonna try another one that has intermediate line in terms of thickness. So it's not super thin, but it's not a negative space either. So let's see how it works. Just remember to cover the whole design with the polish and immediately stamp and transfer into the nail. That will give you the best results, so the polish won't start drying too fast. And look at this. This is absolutely gorgeous. I'm so happy that's actually worked. And here's under black light. At this point, I'm feeling really confident that this could work. So I'm just gonna try with a design that has a little bit more negative space and see if I can get that transfer if I work really fast. So this is real time, by the way, all this footage from this part. So you can see here that there's a lot of missing parts, like white polish here and there, but actually it's not that bad. So I'm kind of like divided on this result. Still beautiful. So now that we know that the glue really works best for the pigments, I'm just gonna try to give you some ideas that you can make it work. So basically you can mix all the colors that you want as a background and stamp on top of that. So here I'm mixing the 3 colors that we're using for this video, and you can always put a little bit more with the applicator. I found out that actually it sticks a little bit more with the pressure, and also you're adding more product. So here I'm just stamping regularly on top of this colorful background, and it's absolutely beautiful. I think this was a great result as well. Here's under black line. After each use, you can clean the stamper with the sticky pads, with a lint roller, or simply with a wipe with acetone. I found that the last method is actually easier and faster for me. But remember, these are not your regular stampers. You should have at least one only for pigments and powders, because they're gonna get cloudier with time. Another idea for using these pigments will be to use it often as a background for your stamping. So here I'm just putting these colors randomly together over a white base with glue underneath, and I'm just going to use it as a colorful background for these skulls. These are more like a negative space thing, so you will see the color through the skulls and the rest will be covered by black. I think it turned out beautiful, and it's a great way to celebrate Halloween in a colorful and festive way. So far I'm really loving how the pigments look over a black base. However, we need to mark our design first with white polish and then apply the glue on top of that, trying to follow what we did previously. It's going to be a little bit tricky because it's very hard to see where you place the glue because it's clear. So I'll try to remember where you place your white polish and try to follow that as close as possible. This is the final result. I think it looks absolutely beautiful, and here is under black light. I think with a white base is a little bit less creepy, or maybe less related to Halloween. So in this design, I'm doing something a little bit more abstract and adding a little bit of black with the dry brush technique and randomly placing blobs of glue on top of this background, and also applying the 3 colors that I've chosen for these examples. I'm gonna remove the excess, and then I'm just gonna stamp as I normally do a black skull on the middle. So this is a little bit different to all the designs that we've done, but I think it's absolutely beautiful, different. I really like it. The more I use the glue, the more I realize all the possibilities that we have. So basically on this one, I'm just drawing with the glue brush something very abstract like a blob. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you're really good at drawing, you could also use that brush to draw your own designs and try to remember, of course, what you did, so you can apply the right pigment where you want to have them. But in this case, it was just an abstract design that I'm gonna place as a background for this little spider. This spider turned out so cute because it's a really small design, but you can really make it stand out with the colors underneath that will cover the body of the spider. So look at this, super cute. We can also use the glue with our stampers. I'm just placing a fair amount here on this palette and stamp it. And with the residue that I have on my stamper, I will start placing the glue in different parts of my nail. I'm working with a white base because we know by now that that's where we get the best results. So I'm just gonna start placing the pigments all together over these nails, and I'm gonna be using the 3 colors that I used for the other examples. Once we remove all the loose powder, we're gonna see where the pigments actually are glued to the nail, and I'm gonna stamp this brain lines on top of that. So the pigments will be the background for this. So this is also very simple. It doesn't cover the whole nail, so you'll still have some white parts that I think they add to the design. So this is the final result, and I really love it. And after you finish with the stamping, remember to always apply a smudge-free top coat and a regular glossy top coat to finish your looks. Here are all the designs that I made that were really successful for this Halloween edition. Let me know in the comments if you like this video or if you tried this technique before, what you think about it. I know there's a sticky stamping polish from a brand called She Modern that a lot of people use, and they have gotten great results with that. I don't have that product, so I can't review it on this video, but also let me know if you have used that and if you actually recommend it for this type of work. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.